I wasn't going to play this game because I thought it was just the latest popular trend, but then I saw the game on sale on Steam for just £5, so I thought I'd pick it up, and yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. So here you can see me on one of my first attempts on the game Only Up. There's a very good chance you've heard about it at this point. A lot of people have been playing it and talking about it, but if you haven't, essentially the objective is for you to climb up into the sky, reach the clouds and go beyond. But if you slip and you fall, you're going to have to start again. The good news is you don't die. You can fall all the way down to the ground and the character won't be killed. However, well, yeah, you're going to have to make the climb again. For me, one of the frustrating parts, at least initially, was these damn pipes right at the start. They are a little bit fiddly to get past. Then, after this, it's relatively plain sailing for a good while before things get really tricky once again. So at any rate, this video isn't me a deep diving into Only Up or anything like that, to be perfectly honest. It's a pretty shallow game when it comes really right down to it. But sometimes these type of very simple games can be a lot of fun. It has some very simple goals, some very simple objectives as a game, and yeah, it achieves them pretty well. At any rate, the main point for this video was just to share this initial experience of the game with you, as well as ask you guys if you've actually played it yourself, because if you have, I'd love to hear your feedback in the comment section below. And talking of feedback, I did check out the reviews on Steam. It's got around about 70% positive at the moment, so mostly positive, but there's quite a few negatives there, including people who are obviously very frustrated at just how difficult the game is. But also quite a few people expressing that the game can be glitchy. I haven't encountered too many of those at the moment, but there are a few areas where you kind of glitch through terrain, or you just can't make progress because there's invisible walls. In fact, slightly further into the video you will see me encounter one of those invisible walls, probably more than a few times actually. Now in terms of the story, there is a little bit of that. As you progress upwards, the character does narrate a little bit of their life history. They're only young, but it seems that for some parts, for the most part perhaps, they've had a pretty rough time. It's quite a sad story. But I can't comment on that too much because I'm not very far into things, but it does seem that it's meant to serve as a bit of inspiration as well. The whole thing does feel as somewhat of an allegory, the idea of getting upwards and outwards. But like I say, can't comment too much on that because I'm in the very early stages of the game at the moment, and you know, as you listen to that story it becomes very clear that the climb is certainly an allegory. The character comes from a history of poverty and is trying to make their way up out of that. In some ways the story is quite sad, but at the same time the character clearly has a lot of determination, and that gives some elements of hope. Now as for the game itself, as you progress, you'll notice the game has a variety of different mechanics. It initially feels very simple, as I've said, and I guess ultimately it is kind of simple, but sometimes there's multiple layers of simplicity that really do give something some uniqueness. Now one of those elements of course is the ability to slow down time. It's not something I've used too much myself, at least not yet, but simple to access. You just hold down the right mouse button and the time will slow down dramatically, allowing you to better maneuver and better time your jumps and other interactions. You'll also notice as you progress through the regions that there's, well, some Easter eggs as well and other references all scattered throughout the game. They kind of add a touch of humour here as well as a touch of nostalgia. All of them are making the climb itself a kind of treasure hunt, and you never really know what you're going to find next. And that really comes down to the routes themselves as well. Sometimes the routes are a little bit difficult and you might find yourself a little bit lost, especially when it comes to, well, being a little bit like me and you can get lost in a paper bag. Ultimately then, as you probably know, I'm not one to follow popular trends when it comes to games. You never really see me playing many of those popular games, but this one really does seem to be a nice little exception to that rule. What's more, it's pretty cheap at the moment with, I think, 30% off or so on the current Steam sale. Like I say, that puts it around about the £5 price point. Not too bad, all in all. And, you know, it's kind of nice to support the developer as well, seeing as it is a lone single developer. Now, whether or not this is a game for everyone, certainly, well, here's a matter of opinion. I think if you're the type to find it frustrating games, too frustrating, and you're kind of likely to give up or, you know, worst of the worst, break something, then this is probably the type of game you should avoid. But if you like a challenge and you like something a little bit unique and something that can be a little bit addictive, well, this is probably worth a bit of a look at, and if nothing else, certainly go and check a few other videos if you haven't done so already. The bottom line for me is that this certainly isn't a game that I'm going to be putting hours and hours into, at least not hours per session, but it's definitely a game I'm going to be jumping in and playing quite regularly for, 10 minutes here, 20 minutes there, whenever I feel like doing something a little bit challenging and a little bit unique. Of course, if you're the competitive type and you really like to get to the top and do so in the best time possible, then you're probably going to enjoy this as well. Either way, as far as I'm concerned, very cliche to say, and this is going to be really cheesy, but it's not so much about the getting to the destination as it is about the journey of getting there. At least that's how I feel about Only Up so far. Either way, let me know in the comment section below what you think about this. Just kind of a random video that I wanted to put out there to kind of get some thoughts and feelings on what you feel about this. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys and girls next time.